Well, we have several teams playing this weekend that are both unranked and undefeated, which is proof that just because you're undefeated doesn't mean you should be ranked. Right, Cal? Yeah, that's right. I don't know if it's because they're the last one standing in the Pac-12 and people feel sorry for the Pac-12 because it's down or what, but this AP and coach ball is cowering 15th. Please, you're telling me there's not 15 teams in America better than Cal? There's unranked teams I'm going to talk about today that are better than Cal. Anyway, that's what's up today, a preview and prediction video for some unranked teams. Of course, I do all the SEC teams on Tuesdays. I do all the remaining top 25 teams on Wednesdays. Then on Thursdays, I run through a group of games that don't fit either of those two categories, but are still interesting to me for one reason or another. A lot of these games come as suggestions from over on the Uncle Lou Patreon page. So if you guys are members on the Patreon page, make sure you check that page from time to time. I put stuff up there all the time, get suggestions from you guys. I'll let you guys pick these games every week, these Thursday games that we preview. Anyway, let's get started.
We about to turn it on.
Yeah, good morning, Matt. It's Uncle Lou here. Yep, that's right. It's me, Uncle Lou, and I'm live for you on LouTube today. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Subscribe to this channel if you're not already. I post college football videos almost every single day of the year. Some of them are even watchable, I promise. I don't know about this one. I'll leave that up to you. Let me know in the comments down below. Slap a thumbs up on this video, too. It doesn't take you any time to do it, and it's a huge help to me. I just hit 25,000 subscribers. I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before. And anyway, that's all thanks to you guys for sharing these videos, hitting the thumbs up, being active in the comment section. All those sorts of things really help me out a ton, and I really appreciate it. All right, again this year, I'm working with the good people over at betnow.eu to bring you guys all the latest odds, lines, spreads, over-unders, money lines, all that kinds of things that I talk about in these preview and prediction videos. There's a link in the description of this video. If you click that link, it'll take you over to the betnow.eu page, and you can get yourself signed up with an account. When you get signed up, make sure you enter that promo code Uncle Lou. That's one word, all lowercase letters, Uncle Lou, and they're going to set you up with a bonus on whatever you deposit. Make yourself some money betting on these college football games. All right, here we go. We got a Thursday night game that's interesting to me. I'm going to talk about here off the top. And guess what? Two undefeated teams, both of which would probably beat Cal. We've got Navy on the road at Memphis. Memphis is a 10.5-point home favorite in this one. Navy, similar to Army, Service Academy School, runs the triple option and plays really good defense. They keep the ball, and they keep the other team from getting the ball, right? Navy is second in America in rushing. We always see these option teams pretty high in the total rushing category. Navy, no exception. Second in America right now. They're 2-0, a couple of blowout wins over some nobody teams, Holy Cross and ECU. They have a good defense too. Rush yards allowed per game for Navy, 74 rush yards allowed per game. That's good for 15th in America. So sort of the same thing we see with Army here, right? Really good run game, really good run defense. They're on the road at Memphis this week. Memphis 10.5-point favorite, like I mentioned. This is 8 o'clock tonight on ESPN. Memphis, of course, has a big win over Ole Miss already this year. A couple of blowout wins, too. They beat Ole Miss 15-10 with some blowout wins over some nobodies. Balanced offense with Ole Miss, 267 passing, 230 on the ground. So they can run it, they can throw it. Something tells me in this game they're going to have to lean more towards throwing, considering Navy's rush defense is pretty good. We'll see if Memphis is able to get anything going on the ground. I was tempted to take Navy in this game. However, because Memphis is the home team and this is a weekday game, I'm going to go with the home favorite here. You see a lot of weird things in weekday games, but it's usually involving a home underdog beating a road favorite. Here, the home team is the favorite, so I'm going to go ahead and ride with Memphis here, late at 10.5. All right, moving on to Saturday. How about Les Miles in Kansas sitting at 2-2, which is a minor miracle, on the road at TCU. TCU is a 16-point favorite. This one comes on at 12 o'clock over on FS1. Kansas, where did that come from? Blowout win over, Boston College, 48-24, something like that. That may be more points than they scored the rest of the season. I don't know where that came from here. We'll find out this week because TCU, pretty good defense. I talk about this all the time when I talk about the Big 12. Only a few teams that even attempt to play defense, TCU being first amongst them. Texas has had a couple of good years over the last few years where they've played some defense, and Iowa State has had a couple of good defensive years. But I talk about Oklahoma all the time, best offense in America, and I say, listen, if you want to get taken seriously and win a playoff game, you better start learning how to play defense. They have a list of excuses a mile long that usually ends with somebody saying something like this. Well, we play in the Big 12, so, there's a lot of great offenses. Oh, okay. I'm not saying you're right or wrong, but how is it that TCU manages to play the same conference schedule you play and have a way better defense? So stop with the excuses and get a real defense. Let's look at TCU's defense. 275 yards allowed per game. That's good for 17th in America. 195 passing yards per game, 41st in America. 80 rush yards allowed per game. That's good for 14th in America. So TCU, no joke here when it comes to defense. 17 total, 14 against the pass. I can't read my 13 or 14 against the run. Let's look at Oklahoma. They're not even in the top 50 in any of those categories. But let me get back to this game that matters. Kansas at TCU. TCU is 16-point favorite. Kansas is not going to score enough points to win this game against TCU's defense. I don't care how many points they put up against Boston College. I'm not buying into the hype on Kansas based off of that game. Kansas is not making a bowl game. People need to slow down with all that kind of stuff. Now, could they win 3 or 4 games this year? Maybe even 5 if things go really well. Yeah, and that would be great. That would be a huge improvement for Les Miles in year 1 at Kansas over what they've done really the last 10 years. I mean, I don't remember the last time they won more than 5 games or made a bowl game. But anyway, I'm going to go with the home team here, TCU, in latest 16. I think they'll score into the 30s probably, and I can't see Kansas getting into the 20s against this defense. So I'm going to roll the dice here and take TCU latest 16. All right, 3:30 over on CBS Sports Network. Georgia Tech on the road at Temple. Temple surprisingly good. Georgia Tech expectedly bad. Everyone knew this was coming this year for Georgia Tech, right? They scored 14 points in a loss to Clemson. They scored 14 points in a win over South Florida. And they scored 24 points in an overtime loss to the Citadel. They come in at 1-2. Temple, 2-1. They're an 8.5-point home favorite in this one. And, of course, they beat Maryland to slow that hype parade down a couple of weeks ago. Maryland, not all that hype in the offseason. Then they come out the first couple of weeks of the season and scoring 60, 70 points a game. People are like, oh, my God, look at this Maryland team. Temple comes in, humiliates them. So people jump off that Maryland bandwagon quicker than they jumped on. Temple turns around the following week and loses to Buffalo. So I'm not here to tell you Temple's a world beater, although Buffalo's a pretty good team. And that loss was kind of expected. Whether you think Maryland's great or not, you got to remember they were getting a ton of hype heading into that Temple game. Temple comes in and beats them. Anytime one of these group of 5 beats a power 5, that's a big win for them. So it was a big win for Temple. Instead of practicing that following week, they celebrated all week, went out and lost to Buffalo. It is what it is. But they're trying to go 2-0 versus the power 5 by beating Georgia Tech at home this week. And they're going to do it. They're going to beat Georgia Tech by more than an 8.5. Give me the Owls. Woo!
Temple.
Woo!
Temple!
Lady 8.5. Iowa State on the road at Baylor. Speaking of undefeated teams again, Baylor 3-0. Better than Cal. I promise you they are. Iowa State's a 3-point road favorite in this one. Why? Makes no sense. They're 2-1, right? Yeah, close loss to Iowa on the road. Baylor, like I mentioned, 3-0. They're a home underdog here, 3:30 ESPN. They beat 3 bad teams, beat them pretty bad, though. Another team with a balanced offense, 250 rushing, 250 passing. Defense only giving up 14 points a game, but again, it's been against bad teams. This will be the best team Baylor has played. However, I'm going to sort of believe my own hype here. Spend a lot of time in the offseason saying Baylor's going to be a lot better than what people think. They've had a few down years here, going back to what happened with the Art Briles thing, and then they sort of went into the toilet for a while. They're starting to swim their way back up through the drain now. We'll see if they can poke their head out of the clog. I don't know. Iowa State, if this game was at home, obviously they'd win. Can't beat Iowa State at home. It's a medical fact. But this game isn't at Iowa State. It's at Baylor. Give me the Bears outright. I don't even want the 3 points. Play Baylor on the money line. Make yourself some extra money. Minnesota on the road at Purdue. The disappointment bowl here, ain't it? Speaking of undefeated teams, Minnesota 3-0. Yeah, they don't deserve to be ranked either. Probably the worst 3-0 team in America, Minnesota. 3 struggle wins against really bad teams. All 1-score wins. They could easily be 0-3. and extremely lucky. Not that they're not, at least 1-2. Purdue, on the other hand, same type of situation, 1-2. 3:30 ESPN2. Minnesota's a 1.5-point favorite in this one. Something else I don't understand. I don't know why. Purdue's not even going to try to run the ball in this game. They're not going to try to run the ball in any game. They throw it 80% of the time. They're going to do that again here. Can Rondale Moore score 2 or 3 touchdowns? Probably. He's one of the most exciting players in college football. If you don't know who that is, watch some of this Purdue game. You'll find out pretty quick. Not a believer in Maryland. They're overhyped. I don't know why they're a 1.5-point road favorite here, unless it's just people looking at the records and saying, well, Minnesota must be better. Purdue's not great either, and this game probably could go either way. I'm going to take the underdog at home, though. Give me Purdue and the 1.5 points in case they win by 1 or lose by 1. Listen, you take that 1.5 points and Purdue loses 21-20. Guess what? You win. NC State on the road at Florida State. What a circus, all-girl clown college the Seminoles have become. Blast to the past. Yep, they're a terrible team, and I don't know if this has been mentioned by me or not, but Willie Taggart is in over his head and doesn't know what he's doing. But they're a 7-point home favorite against NC State. NC State comes in at 3-1. Lost to West Virginia, which I don't think is a very good team. Maybe a little bit better than what people thought, but still not a great team. They lost to West Virginia, and it really wasn't close. They beat 3 lower classification teams. Florida State, well, everyone knows about their struggles. But just how bad is Florida State? Well, remember the UL Monroe game, right? Get out to a huge lead. We've seen this before. UL Monroe comes back in the second half. We've seen this before against Florida State. UL Monroe ties it up, goes to overtime. UL Monroe completely dominates the entire second half of the game. Florida State gets the ball to start overtime. They struggle to score, but they score. UL Monroe gets the ball. They score like Florida State's defense is not even on the field. They go to kick the extra point to tie it up, send it to the second overtime. They miss the extra point. Florida State escapes with a miracle struggle upset of UL Monroe. How good is UL Monroe? Well, they turn around and lose to Iowa State. Did I write this down? I hope I did. Yes. They turn around and lose to, I know I wrote this down. Where is it? They lose to Iowa State 72-20. So Florida State, you want to know how bad you are? You want to know how far away you are from mattering? You escape with a 1-point win over UL Monroe at home in overtime. Iowa State goes out and beats them 72-20. So wherever you think Iowa State is, you're way down here, Florida State. You're just not any good. But you're a 7-point home favorite in this game for no reason at all. Give me the road team, NC State, and those 7 points. All right, up last, UCLA at Arizona, 10:30 ESPN, the late night game. Arizona's a 6.5-point favorite in this one at home against UCLA. How in the hell did UCLA score 67 points last week on Washington State? I don't think they scored 67 points all of last year. Their offense has been terrible this year. Washington State was up something like, was it 49-17? And UCLA came back in the second half and won 67-63? Huh? Unbelievable. I'm not buying the hype on UCLA. I don't think something happened and everything magically started clicking. You look at Washington State, they have one of these losses every year. Not a huge comeback like this, but like last year, what were they, 10-2? They get up into the top 10 at the end of the season. They finished, I think, 10-2. Then you look back and you're like, how the hell did they lose that team? Some 3 or 4 win team. That's UCLA this year. So congrats to Mike Leach on that, and I hope you find Bigfoot and whatever else it is you're looking for. But back to this game, though. Arizona comes in at 2-1, lost to Hawaii in week 0 in a crazy game, and beat Texas Tech 28-14, and then beat a nobody. So they're 2-1. UCLA defense, they don't have one. They're giving up 530 yards per game. Arizona's offense is getting 590 yards per game, and they're less than a touchdown favorite at home. There's not a Power 5 team in America that I wouldn't take minus 6.5 at home against UCLA. Not a single one. I would take Tennessee minus 6.5. I would take Arkansas minus 6.5. I would take Rutgers minus 6.5. I would take Florida State even. I would even take the Miami Hurricanes minus 6.5 at home against UCLA. That's how bad UCLA is. Give me Arizona, lay to 6.5. All right, that's going to be it for the previews and predictions for this week. Just to remind you, I did the SEC on Tuesday. You can click back and check that out. I did all the top 25 teams yesterday, Wednesday. You can click back and check that out. And today I did a list of other games that are interesting to me for one reason or another. Today's Thursday. That means we have the live show tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern. I do this show every Tuesday and Thursday night at 10 p.m. Eastern. It's a college football call-in show. So I take calls from fans from all over. We have a great time on that show. The comment section is ridiculous on that show. If you haven't checked that out, then you don't know what you're missing. But anyway, tune into the live show. We have a good time. That's tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern. We also do that show Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. Eastern, too. I put College Game Day and SEC Nation on the TVs out here, and we watch those together. Talk about what's going on there, talk about the day's games, all that kind of thing, and take phone calls from you guys. All right, really appreciate you guys tuning in. Enjoy your Thursday, and have a great morning.